We are pleased to be joined by the national championship coach, the head man of the Ohio State Buckeyes, Ryan Day. It's great to be with you.
It's great to be here.
A year ago, I said, would you rather talk about Michigan or have needles stuck in your eyes? You said, I'll take the needles.
Right.
You don't have to talk about that anymore. I know there's a sector that still wants that Michigan thing, and we'll talk about it in a bit. But what a run to close the season, especially after the disappointment of the Michigan game. How did it get galvanized so quickly?
I don't know if it was so quickly. I think when you look at the way the playoffs are now, you know that it's going to be a long run. And you have to prepare for that and realize that there's going to be, bumps in the road. You look at the NFL, there's really only been one team that's run the table. You look at Oregon, and they had such a great team and a great run, but they didn't really have that loss along the way. And then, just maybe ran out of steam, I guess, towards the stretch. We had that.
Or ran into the Buckeyes.
Well, but we lost to them early and had to make some changes. We lose the rivalry game, make some changes in the offensive line because, when you're playing this long of a season, we lose Simmons in the Oregon game, then we lose our Remington Award winner at center, and we go into that game and the offensive line, really made some adjustments going into that Tennessee game, what we did in the run game. Like, that's part of the process. It doesn't just happen, as the season goes on, there's things that affect the season. But ultimately, we had a team that had been through a bunch of things already and knew that it was going to be a long season. And we came together, played our best football, played with an edge. And I think a big part of it was the experience of our team and guys like Will Howard, who just showed great leadership, but boy, he played his tail off down the stretch. And
grit.
Grit and just a high level of execution. I mean, his completion percentage was over 70%, and defense played strong. So I think all those things added up, but we had to go through things along the way and fix the things that went wrong.
I talked to Gene Smith the other day, former boss, the athletic director, who's now enjoying retirement, but still close to the action. And I said, what kind of pride did you have in watching this guy that you'd handed the reins to as a whippersnapper and maybe hadn't had a lot of experience to a program like Ohio State? He said, I was so excited. What kind of conversation did you have with him after you got it done?
Well, when everything happened in 18 and 19, Gene really could have gone a lot of different directions, not only on the staff that we were on at the time, but also nationally. And he didn't, he allowed me an opportunity, and that gave me confidence. Somebody that had such great experience as an athletic director who had been through it all, had seen so many different things, but saw something in me that allowed me the opportunity to take this opportunity on. And being a first-time head coach, I mean, not only at Ohio State, but there's never been a coach that had, a young family and all the different things that came with that. So there was a lot of firsts with this. And when you take that on, maybe you don't get the benefit of the doubt because people don't know your background. They haven't seen any kind of body of work. And so then, winning a national championship and earning that respect was a big deal. And his belief in me and the way that we worked together, it was something special.
Yeah, somebody's got to give you a chance, right?
That's
and he
it.
gave that chance to you, which is really a powerful thing. You've gone from great offensive innovator to CEO. Have you enjoyed that ride, or do you miss being on the creative side?
I miss being on the creative side, yeah. When we were in the playoffs, that was the purest it's been because finals were over.
Right.
And we were just working on football, and we had 10 days to prepare for each game. That was
just so much fun.
Yeah, it was so much fun. And, working with Chip and the offensive staff and putting the game plan together and making corrections and being in meetings and just being much more involved in it and spending your focus on those types of things. And then having time to go down and sit in some of the defensive meetings. You sit in the special teams meetings and be a part of all of it was great. But that's unrealistic nowadays.
Yeah.
I say it all the time, what we're dealing with now in college football off the field is nowhere near where it used to be. and the way that we put our rosters together with the transfer portal, all these different things that are coming into play, you can't do it. And so that's why you got to hire guys and allow them to do their job. And like you said, be more of a CEO.
You mentioned going to the defensive side. Jim Knowles, you went out and hired from Oklahoma State. It looks like he got the job done. The defense was outstanding down the stretch. You've got a championship, and yet he's gone. I don't know if it's Jim Knowles wanted to go back home. I know he's from the state of Pennsylvania. When you were doing that, making those decisions as to whether or not you needed to compete with Penn State and all that deal, how difficult was that? And was it time to move on, or was it a deal where, hey, I don't want to lose a guy who just helped us win a national championship?
Everything moved really fast.
Too fast almost?
Yeah. I mean, probably. Yeah. Once the game got over, I mean, everything was just moving really, really fast. And, and ultimately, people have to make their decisions, and that's, got a lot of respect for what Jim did and did a great job when he was here. And you'll have to ask him, whether it was looking for a new challenge or whatever that was. But we wanted to make sure we kept continuity on the defensive side of the ball. And so, Tim Walton, Matt Guerreri, James Laurinaitis, and Larry Johnson, weren't going to go anywhere. And it was important as I looked at, the way that Urban ran his program, the way that Nick Saban ran his program, was to have continuity when you did some coordinator changes. Because when you're dealing with the amount of money that's out there today, when you're dealing with everything that comes with it, you're going to have, especially when you have success, you're going to have changes. And I watched the way that those guys operated during those times. And I wanted to make sure that we were running the Ohio State defense, we were running the Ohio State offense.
That's exactly what Nick says on that Alabama. We're going to keep the same language. We're going to keep the same stuff.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to do that. And so finding Matt was important, to find somebody that was just going to come in and not bring in a bunch of his guys. And that was key, and willing to embrace what we had done.
The global atmosphere. You're on the front lines. Ohio State is a preeminent destination for all kids coming out of high school. You evaluate all the top talent. The conversation with the compensation.
Yeah.
How much of it is the focus of compensation as opposed to the glory of Ohio State?
That's a great question. I think for us, it's about the development. I think we pride ourselves in developing the elite player. And there's a lot that comes with that. When you come to Ohio State, it's almost as if you're in the NFL. Now, we take a lot of pride in what we do. I mean, our APR score was 1,000 last year, and we've had 6 semesters over a 3.0. So you have to come in and want to do both. But at the same time, you're held to a higher standard. These guys can't be going downtown. I mean, our fan base and what comes with being in Columbus with 2 million people, these guys are sort of like rock stars. And so they have to move different. They have to act different. They're held to a very, very, very high standard. And so you have to feel that once you leave Ohio State, when you go to the NFL, you're going to be able to step right into an environment and feel like
you're used to it.
You are.
Yeah.
And you're in an NFL offense, you're in an NFL defense. And so when you see our guys not only make it to the NFL and then succeed, like that's part of it. So I think that's important. The compensation, our guys are compensated as good as anybody there is in the country. But if that's the number one.
Is there a lot of conversation between you and some of your peers at other places, maybe not in the Big Ten, but other places, about compensation so that you can kind of keep it all on the rails?
Sort of. A little bit is unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think some of it is a little bit competitive too, quite
Sure.
honestly. Yeah, not everyone's going to show their cards. But if the number one conversation is money, I think you hear every coach say that, but that's real for us. I think the question that we're all trying to figure out is outside the salary cap, with the third-party deals, how is that going to be regulated? How is it going to be enforced if people aren't disclosing that? I think that's what we're all trying to figure out as we move forward.
History would say that would be murky.
Yeah, it's murky now.
It's been murky since the beginning of time, right?
Yes.
Last thing, Texas,
Yep.
the opening game, huge opportunity. I go back to that Notre Dame game.
Yep.
Some pieces of that made you play within yourself, maybe not trying to be flamboyant. A new quarterback's going to play. Whoever that will be, we'll
Yep.
wait and see what competition creates. Will it be kind of a close to the vest deal, and will you be more involved in the offense now that Chip is off to the NFL?
No, I won't be involved more. Very similar to what was. Great part is in preseason, there's no school really, so we can really dive into that and put a great plan together. We're going to be smart, but we also want to be aggressive and go after these guys. First game of the year, we're gonna have some fun with it. I think the guys want to play that way, and They were
If you
a very
give us
good
another
team.
show like you gave us in Dallas, we're all going to be very excited about
What a
it.
game that was. Huh?
Senator Sawyer. I said he'll never be called Jack Sawyer again after that fumble recovery.
Or have
and
to buy
return.
dinner in Columbus ever again either.
100%.
Yeah.
Great to be with you.
Yeah, you got it.
And best of luck.
Thank you.
Go Bucks.
Yeah, go Bucks. Thanks.